Aloha.
And hello.
I'm Ian.
I'm Steve.
It's Downbelow.
And today we're going to talk about a situation that has stumped many a game master, and that is building a party.
And also hooking them into the adventure, which are really kind of the same thing.
They really are, especially in a narrative-focused game. In a game like Dungeons & Dragons or Shadowrun, you've got plenty of room for a lot of stuff. In D&D, the core activity of the game is the act of delving into a dungeon or otherwise encountering an adventure. And so, in a very real sense, as long as the party isn't literally aggressively at each other's throats,
or aggressively trying to go in vastly different directions than each other.
Right. You can't go wrong. You can have a deadly serious Knight of the Chivalrous Code, along with a completely wacky halfling cowboy and a cloistered cleric, and before you know it, you've just got a really awkward group of characters, but they mechanically work, and their bickering is amusing, and who cares, the crown of domination is right around the corner, let's get it from that lich before he mind controls the universe.
And in the Shadowrun example, as long as everybody's willing to accept the job from Mr. Johnson and pretend to be professionals long enough to try and get it done, you can't go too far wrong.
The guy in Dayglow Clown Facepaint is probably going to make it difficult to get into certain high-security locations, especially if he refuses to scrub it off. But, in a way, who cares? He is a criminal who needs money just like the rest of us. But then there's other games where that approach just does not work very well. Games like, we've mentioned Call of Cthulhu a couple of times, but even the predecessor to Shadowrun, Cyberpunk 2020, it's wide enough for characters to come from a variety of different archetypes, but without direct GM input, there's sometimes no reason for all of them to even know each other, let alone work together to save the world from certain eldritch doom. So, with that in mind, we're here to offer a couple of options for putting together your Downbelow game, starting from the very beginning. The first option is very simple. Give the characters an agency or organization of some sort that they functionally work for. This could be a literal work for, they could actually be on salary from that agency, or it could be a figurative work for. Perhaps it's as simple as the charity to which they all subscribe to get their food stamps needs their help with certain things, or as complex as the book club that all of them are members of comes under random social fire from a rival book club. Who knows?
Think of this as the plot genre of your TV show. Are you a crime drama? Are you a police procedural?
Police procedural drama, Law and Order, The X, etc.
Are you more of an action show?
Yep.
Decide
the A-Team, for instance, they were the A-Team. Even though they didn't work for a different group, they were themselves the group. And if they had lost one of their members, they'd have to recruit a new member.
So you decide on that genre, and that will give you an idea of what you want the unifying factor for your player group to be.
Yeah.
Are they a group of conspiracy theorists? Criminals? What? And that unifying factor will lead you into the next step.
The benefit of having a group is that if you do end up losing a character for any reason, or even losing the whole bunch of characters, it's very easy to replace them with a character with the same or similar expertise without straining suspension of disbelief. Are you a police investigations team who has just lost their explosive expert? Congratulations, you're probably going to get assigned a new explosives expert with a similar amount of relevant skills they'll be of their own quirky individual, but the important part is they'll still fill the explosives expert role. The next step is giving that team something to do. This is where I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because what if you don't have a group? We actually kind of have to jump straight into that second step, because the way to get a disparate bunch of people together is to give them a common goal, something to do. There are a couple of major ways to do that. One thing you don't want to do unless you're absolutely certain of it is rely on passive hooks. If you have a character whose motivation is that they cannot abide social injustice, and you intend for them to witness a scene of social injustice and that's how they're going to get pulled into the group's plot, that could work. But more likely in today's day and age, that's likely to get a grassroots Twitter movement going that will eventually expose corruption than it is to get that person elbows deep in the mud trying to help someone up. And while players are generally more likely to go with the obvious story than not, at the same time you highly run the risk that you're going to have to actively pursue those people. So really, the primary hooks come in two factors for getting a disparate group together. Number one, someone reaches out to them and pulls them in. So instead of seeing something happening, something happens to someone that knows them and they are contacted for help, or it happens while they're right there, which is very close to number two, something happens to them.
And that leads into the exact opposite of the passive hook, which is the in media res.
Yep.
Starting in the middle of things, as that Latin phrase tells you, is actually one of the most reliable ways to get a group started, whether or not they have a common organization that they have agreed their characters are going to be part of.
When you start off staring at a ticking countdown timer, the question is not, why am I working with these people? Why would I ever be there? The question is, how do we all survive this ticking countdown timer?
And the answer might be, it's actually not a bomb, it's actually the time until you arrive on site.
But the important thing is that you start with the assumption that you are all already together, which bypasses a lot of the thorny questions about why would my conservative soccer mom ever work willingly with an edgy, mohawked, hardcore punk anarchist.
Or at least constrains the answers to those questions and forces the players to answer them in a way that leads to the current situation.
Because the answer is not, I wouldn't. The answer is, well, I am, so.
And you can, in fact, and often should, use this as a technique to put those questions onto the players and say, you're here, the smoking gun is in your hand, and that man is dead. Why?
Yep. So, that covers a couple of basic tools. We've got some more things to talk about in the upcoming episodes, but for now, we've been talking your ear off for a couple of minutes. Why don't you let us know in the comments below what tools you have for getting a party together? We'd love to hear from you.
And if you'd like us to have more tools to edit these videos a little better and bring some more skill and panache to this process, please consider supporting us, because we're on a shoestring, but we'd love to do more with it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching and falling through the cracks with us.